Good evening, everybody. It's Reg at Asylum Hot Rods. Welcome back. Missed you guys for a few days, but I'm back. We've been plugging away, working through some of our problems. So I think when we left off last time, Reg is having a problem finding his clutch alignment tool. Hey, I found it. There it is. Anyways, so we use that, lined up, clutch got things. Bolted up the transmission, and a couple little problems there. Nothing major. We talked about whether that pilot bearing was going to be in far enough, and it was a little, it wasn't quite in far enough. So pulled the transmission out, gave it a little smack, brought it in. That was bang on. So we got that fixed up. Bolted the transmission up against the housing, and it wanted to bottom. It wasn't bottoming out. It was leaving a gap, and sure enough, there's a little nut that the fork rides on. And even though it was all the way back, which is what we needed to get the free play we wanted, it was actually not going into where the transmission was supposed to have a relief. So anyways, a little bit of grinding and filling, put it back together, and it's all fine and dandy. So that's all buttoned up. And you can see behind me, we slipped it into place and made up a couple of mounts. Reused the just tilt you here. So we reused the original cross member, raised obviously basically the entire width of the frame, because that's where we needed to be height wise, because when we initially hoped that that transmission would slide in the middle of that X, unfortunately by the time we got the motor far enough back, it was about a ½ inch too wide to go through that hole and get it where we wanted to be. So we're kind of not all the way above it, that X with the transmission tailstock, but part of the way. So I'll post some pictures on Facebook and Instagram probably tomorrow or the next day of that stuff, because we're basically now just setting pinion angle and tailstock angle, engine angle in relation to pinion, and starting to get into that whole drivetrain angle situation now. So we're pretty close. Just got to redo the rear transmission cross member to fit the way we want it, and yeah, we're just into fine-tuning adjustment for basically where the motor transmission is gonna fit on a plane. So if you're bored and need something to make you fall asleep, go look up drive shaft angles and the theory and all behind that. Yeah, that's really fascinating stuff. But if it's not spot on, you will not enjoy the ride. So yeah, so that's, we got that part done. That's where we are with that. We're still waiting for our 471 to 6-pack carb adapter, which is sitting in Toronto at Customs. Been there for 4 days. They won't release the piece of steel for some reason, piece of aluminum actually. So hopefully we can get that coming so we can get the carbs on and continue with that. So the blower's not on yet, and that's part of what we're going to be doing tonight. I've had a bunch of requests even to watch the boring stuff, so welcome to boring stuff. I'm going to be doing a little bit of that final clearancing for the blower manifold tonight. So it's going to be noisy. You may want to throw some music on in the background. So we're going to be doing that clearancing that we talked about. So this is almost ready to go. So I started doing the first one, opening that up, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. You guys can watch me do that. Be fun. There'll be noise. You're going to hear my compressor run and the die grinder run, and I'll run through it. So anyways, front suspension. I had Leonard message me last night and said, what are you doing? Show us the boring stuff. Basically, I was just assembling the front axle assembly. It's a Speedway dropped axle with wishbones, disc brake kit. Pretty cheap, economical way to go if you're looking for that setup. One-stop shopping. Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. Again, I was basically putting that together for a few hours last night, and it's all bolted on. So we dropped it into the cross member. The cross member is sitting in there. The car is now at ride height. You can kind of notice that there's no arms underneath the front. It's sitting on blocks. That's where we're going to be once I find a set of wheels and tires that fit, because I went through my pile today that I thought I had a good set, and I had finally found 2 rims but didn't have the right tires with them. So we'll get tires on those rims tomorrow, maybe Friday, and then we can actually drop it down. You can see the angle finder is getting overtime, not only between the engine but also the cross member, and getting all that fun stuff on. So so we're now sitting at ride height in the angle that I like for the chassis, and now I'm just kind of pitching the front end exactly where I want it, which for me is somewhere around 5 degrees. I kind of like that. 4 is a little soft. 6, 7 I think is a little too aggressive for your steering and how it runs. I like right around 5 myself. It works good for me. Split wishbones, so you can see back here my wishbones are still dangling. I've set that initial angle on the spring, and then once I load up everything else, I'm just going to fine tune it with all the weight on it just to make sure I'm okay. Once that's all okay, Then I'm going to finish boxing in the spring, made up a couple of support plates to go inside the frame. Yeah. Box it all the way around, and then we'll end up doing the same thing on the outside here. Because we went with the flat Model A style cross member, basically because it's flat, the spring sits that much further in and it wants to bottom out on the frame rail. So I like to reinforce around there and across the top. And the other thing is that the spring perches are very close to this frame because obviously it's a little bit wider than a Model A. But once we do the notch in there, it'll be lots of room for everything to go up and down where it's supposed to. Yeah, so further behind me, you can see on the floor here, my good friends Richard and Paul were up today helping out a little bit. They were a little camera shy afternoon when they were over working away on that, even though that was quite the comedy fest outside, the two of them monkeying around with that. While I was working on Mary Jane, they were playing with this grill shell and stuff. So yeah, so I've got that going on there. Got the headlights on, trim rings. Got things going. So the headlights come back out one more time, obviously when we wire it, but we had to do a little bit of notching and fitting in there. I should say they did some notching and fitting. It was they didn't cut each other with the grinder at all today, so that was good. Good job, guys. Nobody got hurt. Dressed up that grill shell a little bit, and he's going to probably throw a little bit of pinstriping on there for me too, because he likes to do that sort of stuff too. So got Kirby around too. Kirby's just been so busy, so I think Richard's going to jump in. He's the one that did our other car too. Richard did Dirty Girl, and Curb did Mary Jane and a few other stuff. So those two guys are top notch, and I get twisted as to who I'm going to use each time because they're both so good. So, anyways, that's where we're with that. So basically, got to set the wishbones in place. We're going to do the manifold tonight and a little bit of the drive shaft angle, and then hopefully tomorrow we can jump onto the rear differential install. And that'll be kind of the final thing for suspension all the way around. Fuel tank I've got here good to go. I trial fit it. I just slipped it in place. Looks like it's good. Measurements look spot on. May just have to weld a couple of tabs just to keep it going. And yeah, after that, I'll feel a lot better. A lot better after we get the suspension in place. A couple more body reinforcement things I want to go. You can see the doors aren't hung yet and the floors aren't in. The floors aren't in. Yeah, not even close. I find floors pretty easy. Basically, especially in this car, we've got a bit of a transmission tunnel, a little bit of a drive shaft tunnel. The rest of the floors are fairly flat, and what isn't kind of does a nice rollover with all that extra work they did in the first 3 or 4 days when we're doing all the floor structure. So we've got a couple more reinforcement bars I want to put around the hinge posts and the latches, and kind of into that back deck lid. But after that, the floors and stuff will go in kind of quickly. So I'm leaving all that out right now because right now it's easily accessible inside and out, top and bottom for all the structural stuff that we're doing, and then plumbing it for brake lines and fuel lines and stuff. And then from there, again, the floors are pretty straightforward. So my wife came out tonight and said, you're supposed to leave in a few days and you don't even have any floors yet, Reg. Well, least of my worries, the floors right now. So yeah, so that's that. I felt earlier like I had all kinds of problems, but honestly, now that I'm just kind of reviewing it and rattling on here, it's not too bad, really. We've got a long way to go. Oh, Vintage Dave, my glass man, who was out yesterday, checking it out and coming for a plan for the glass. The back one, even though I thought it was initially flat when we ran a straight edge across it, it actually does have a little bit of a curve to it. So we're going to run 2-piece flush mounted glass in the front. Sorry, V-butted in the front. It actually goes on the inside, not flush mount like the new Pro Touring stuff is. Back is going to be the same thing, and we're going to run it. He's going to split it there and join the back window there at the split that you can see. You see it there? The split right there. Yeah, there's a split right there. So yeah, he's going to do that for front and back. Side glass, well, we'll see. Once we get everything else up and going, then we're going to jump back onto those doors, because I kind of figure that, if it doesn't run, drive, steer, and stop, I don't really care if it's got doors. So once we get all that done, then we'll jump back onto the doors and all that other fun stuff. So yeah, that's that. That's me babbling on for 9.5 minutes about what I've done on and off for the last few days while trying to work. Yeah, and here we are. So got rear diff back there waiting to go. Don't look at that pretty purple motor. That's not for anything going on here today. Yeah, so there we are. Here's where we're at. Here's what things look like. So intake manifold. So I'm going to port, I think if you remember before, our intake manifold that we got, gear drive, piece of beauty. We bolted on, made sure it fits. We've had all the machine work done. So again, when I got it was as cast, so get a good view here. They were able to do relief cuts in here. So we got our bolts going through. It's all drilled. Tap for the blower. I dry fit it to make sure that that fits, and it does. Everything was great. Machine works great. Casting's great. We got it drilled out and tapped for the backfire valve. I kept calling it a blow-off valve because I'm thinking turbos all the time lately because that's what we're into. So I'm going to adjust here as necessary. See if you guys can get the angle of the angle right here. Okay, without dropping you. Okay. Right over here. And there you go. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So we've got basically, again, so this, if you recall on our last conversation about this intake, it was cast so that it would fit the 322s all the way up to the 401 and 425s. They have different widths on the head and where they line up. So they cast this baby to go across those and left lots of meat here for if it, if it was on the 425, the ports would be a little further out and whatever else. So we have a little bit of cleanup to do here. Started doing one over here to start. You see I'm working towards my magic black marker line. If you heard about doing port and polishing of heads, it's similar to that. Only I don't need to be as aggressive. It's a blower intake. It's going to push past anything that's there, but I would like it to be port match just to make sure we don't have any restrictions, which will give us a false boost indication on the carb side because it'll feel pressure on the top side, but not necessarily down here where it's making it in. So anyways, we're just going to relieve that restriction, and we've got to make the plate here as well. I've just grabbed a piece of chunk of steel here that was some leftover. As you can see, I've been using it to make brackets and all kinds of stuff over the years. So it's just cut off. We've got the circle transpose. Looks different. It's magic of TV. Basically, what I did is actually I had a 40, I'd say 40 Pontiac taillight lens, and it just so happened to fit over there, spot on. So guess what? There's my template. So we just transferred that onto there. I'll cut that out with the. You can do it whatever you want to do. I'm going to cut it out with the plasma cutter. Quick and easy. Clean up the edges. Drill a couple of holes. I've got, like I said, I've got a selection of springs we're going to try to put on there, and that'll go on the top here with the bolts going through with a gasket in between. Basically, the idea of that is that if you get a backfire in a blower motor, which I'm sure if you watch any real top fuel stuff, you've seen those blowers blow right off and clear into the sky and that sort of stuff. They've got straps and everything else holding that on. We just use a small relief valve, so if it backfires, that basically can pop off, relieve the pressure, and then reseat itself again. That's why it's on the spring to push it back on. Not only it's got pressure to keep it from popping under boost, we don't want it to obviously to blow off at 3 psi because it'll just be leaking everywhere and you'll never get it to run. But if you get that backfire situation, poof, it releases the pressure and hopefully makes it so that the blower stays in place, the manifold stays in place, the carbs stay where they're supposed to be, and it just gives it a bit of a safety net, I guess is the best way to put it. So anyways, that's what I'm just going to make with that. I guess I could have made it in aluminum or whatever else to match, but at the end of the day, that's some pretty heavy steel. It's not going to flex, not a lot of pressure there anyways, even if it does go boink. Yeah, so that's that. So this is where you're going to want to turn on the music and turn me down. So basically just a diagram different use just to open it up, and then I've got another one that's got a little bit more of a point. Yeah, there it is there. So just got a bit of a better point just to get into the right into the corners. If I was doing, I mean, the old school way we used to do stuff, then from there we'd break out the Dremel with all the different grits of sandpaper, 120, 80, and we polished it all up, and it'd be smooth and it'd be beautiful, and that was the thing to do back in the 80s, until we realized that a little bit of roughness is good because it creates turbulence and keeps the molecules in the air and fuel and everything else still going, so it doesn't they don't separate and just turn into fuel droplets. And again, it's a lot of people know a lot more about that stuff than I do. For what we're doing here, we're just going to get it to where we need to be. I'm going to put a little bit of a chamfer on. Nothing crazy. I'm not getting over the top here. I'm not going to flow test or anything else like that. We're just trying to get it so the ports match, get it to where it needs to be, and carry on. We're not doing any winning any drag races anytime soon, I don't think. No, I might be able to. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to try to prop you up here because I think your angle sucks. Better. We need to check. Sorry guys, just let me find something to for you to sit up on. What's that block? Let me get you a block. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'll get you up high in the sky. Get you a good view of what I'm doing. And I'm serious about finding some music. You better get some music on. This is going to be noisy. If you have a face shield or anything on with this, I got my glasses, so that protects my eyes. Again, I'm not really doing any fine sanding, so I'm not worried about particles getting into my lungs. These are just going to be chunks of aluminum flying, and it'll be all over my shirt by the time we're done. But all right, bear with me. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Wasn't that worth the wait? Yeah, that's better. There we go. All right, that's good. That's better. Everybody happy? I'm happy. Oh, one other thing. We found the which ornament goes on. We got that going on. So that's kind of neat. I kind of like that one. It's got some good patina. That should win us some awards at the OP Build Off. Coming up soon. Getting pretty excited. I was talking to some of the guys down there, and everybody's putting their stuff together. Some guys have been driving ready for a while. There's a few other fools like me that are still working away and are nowhere near getting done. So anyways, yeah, it's good talk to the guys down there. So we're making some arrangements to meet in the east side of Nebraska a week tomorrow. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna make some noise. Again, you're gonna see some chips flying. I'm not breathing anything in, I promise. It's all pretty chunky stuff. So if I was using drum rolls or whatnot, I'd definitely throw on my mask. And so anyways, here we go. We're gonna do the rough stuff. Wait for the compressor to get caught up. I'll tell you what's going on here. Come on, compressor. Might have drained it down a little bit. All right. Hey, there we go. Got caught up. All right, so you can see kind of the before. This is how much we needed to open it up. It's kind of where we are now. You can see we just got a perimeter pretty even all the way around. This is the side that we're working on. You can see in there, sort of what I'm doing is just open it up and so I can get a little closer. Yeah, we're just opening it up and just giving it a little bit of on the edge just so it's got a nice smooth transition to get through there. Again, not going all crazy. So I'm going to follow up again with a smaller one once I get the other side done. And the smaller one is just to get into these corners here a little bit. Just it matches closer to the radius of what's going on here. This one here is kind of sharp in that corner from the wide roll. You can sort of see that tip, just a round one, right? And then with this tip here, you can obviously get in a little closer and get into more of the radius that's happening there, just to match it up a little bit. Again, not going crazy. I'm sure the guys that do this for a living professionally with hopped up engines are going, oh, you should put that on a flow bench and you should do it CNC, and 100% you guys do that. We're just building a hot rod. That's all we're doing, just building a hot rod. All right, so anyways, that's just basically gonna repeat that and do a little bit more cleanup on the other side. So it didn't take too long, so I'm just gonna carry on with that. Make lots of noise again. Crank on some AC/DC or maybe some Johnny Cash. Feels like a Johnny Cash night to me. You might have saw me, I blew everything out. That's just to keep everything moving. It's pretty clean in there. Most of the stuff's blown out. Once I'm all done, I'll actually wash this thing very thoroughly inside and out. Best time to do that is when your wife or girlfriend goes to bed. Sneak into the house, fill up the sink full of water and some dishwasher soap, scrub a dub, and then rinse it on the other, and away you go. Garden hose, parts washer, do it 2 or 3 times, whatever you got to do. You don't want any of these aluminum chunks floating through your nice new engine, right? So I'm gonna make some more noise. Yeah, I mean, I've got an air one. If you've got a Dremels are great. They're really good. They got the long wand, and you can get right in there and go hog wild, as it were. Making some noise. Oh, you might have noticed that it starts off when I'm cutting it really quickly. That's basically because as the port comes around, this edge right here is probably not even a 32nd of an inch for the first 16th of an inch anyway. So it's pretty thin right here. And then after that, I start getting into the meaty stuff. And that's why it slows down. And if you might have noticed over here, I slipped. And as soon as I slipped, I let go of the trigger right away. No damage, luckily. So don't get aggressive. Just let the tool do the work and carry on. Here we go. I'm gonna do these 4. I'll switch tools. Then I'll just clean up the corners a little bit and blow it out again. And then we'll call it at that point for this thing. So making some noise. Here we go. Crank on the tunes, boys and girls. So that was the easy part. I said to you, it goes really quick here, and I'll show you why. So when I first got into it there, you see that lip right there? You see that little bevel edge? That's all it took to get to that point. Now I'm into the meaty part, and that's when we gotta let it work a little bit more. But that's why it starts off like that, and then it slows down a little bit. You might hear the tool start to work a little bit more. That's why we're getting into the good stuff now. So again, I don't want to make the black line disappear. I don't want to go right past the edge of the gasket. That's kind of basically where the gasket laid. Where the gasket laid in there, and went inside the edge. So that's still going to give me some material there for the gasket to seat on. Oops, sorry, this side. Yeah, so basically, like I said, I marked it with a Sharpie in here like that. And that width of the Sharpie is still going to, I don't know what that is, but it's going to give me a little bit of this gasket edge so that it can, when it crunches down, it's still got something it can seat on. If I went all the way to that black edge and made it disappear, I'm not looking to do that. I don't want to hog it right out. I just want to make it uniform so that it's uniform to the gasket. The gasket actually matched the head spot on, so I didn't have to do any work there. But yeah, so again, just open it up, smoothing it out. Did I say that already 5 times? Because that's all I'm doing. Just opening it up, smoothing it out, leaving enough material for the gasket to seal. I also noticed that basically the front. See what I did? Yeah, the front port on this side and the back port on the other side, it cleaned up like that. I'm going to do this one here and see if it was the other one's cleaned up. It seemed like that last one I did on that side took a lot more work, but I just want to see how that compares. Nice, I like it. Everybody hanging in there with this fun, exciting stuff? I bet. think nobody's giving any thumbs up for this fascinating stuff we're doing here. It's crazy. All right, we're gonna swap out. Smaller baby in there. You want to clean up those corners. Man, back in the Pro Street days, did so much of this stuff. It was crazy. That's it. That's all it takes. Split it in the corner. That's it. Nothing crazy. One more. Okay. No manifolds were harmed in the making of this live stream. Watch your little fly. Alright, so anyway, so here we are. Just nothing crazy in the corners. You can see they're somewhat uniform. That's what we were shooting for. Anyway, so there you go. Not race ported by any means. So when you got a nice casting to start out with, have I said that enough times? Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm a fan. I guess when you search for something like this for a while and it comes to fruition, then it kind of helps, eh? There we go. Sorry about the noise tonight. I told you it was gonna be noisy. Told you it was gonna be noisy. Everybody's had their dirty fingers all over this thing. So anyway, so I'm gonna take this inside the house. I'm gonna just wash it out a few times with soap and water and rinse it out. Then let it dry. Some guys want to use the dishwasher. Some ladies want to use the dishwasher. That's up to you. That's up to you. I'm not going to do that. I don't really know what chemicals and stuff are been floating around this baby, so I don't really want to put that into where my food's going to be anytime soon. So that is that. That is that. So what did we learn today? Probably not a heck of a lot you wouldn't learn reading a good book. So yeah, so I'm going to cut out this this plate and cut out a gasket and drill a couple holes, and then that should be it for modifications on our blower manifold. So from there we can bolt this baby on, and we can get a little bit of cleanup. I'm gonna I'll grab the blower. Oh, why not? We've come this far. Anyways, just gonna put this on here for its sake. Ports are all taped up on the engine, so don't worry about contamination there of anything that may or may not go by. I like it there. It's nice and safe. It looks so pretty. Okay, blower. GMC 471. Oh, say it's like 60 pounds, but it feels like a lot more than that. All right, so this is our blower. It's still got some of the original paint on it, so you can see it's got some turquoisey color on that side, and it's got some yellow on that side. So I'm thinking Detroit on one side. And anyway, so this is it. It's been rebuilt. You can see I've got it taped up fore and aft, as it were, top and bottom. It's been all rebuilt. It's had the rotors pinned. Here, I'll put you back down here so you can see this. Anyways, this is it here. So yeah, so no sponsorships. Remember when I said that? Same situation. Still not sponsored, but I will say that Monty down at Mad Dog Blowers took care of me on this one. These are his caps. I asked him to rough them up and don't make them look so pretty, because normally these are nice polished pieces, which he does a great job with, but I didn't want it to look all fresh and new too much. So anyway, this is it. New caps, new bearings in there, new seals throughout, pinned, triple pinned everything. He got me a new snout. Oh, I swear to God, this is more than 60 pounds. Or I'm just tired and weak. Spinning around here. Oh. Anyways, he got me a nice long snout for just because of the way the nail head is set back a little bit. Total guesstimate on my part. I said, I don't know. What's the usual stuff? Is 4, 5. Screw it. Send me this one. So this one I think we decided was 7 or 8. What do we decide on? Yeah, 7. Yeah, 8 by the time we get to there. So we got an 8-inch snout. So yeah, I've been I roughed it up a little bit. It came in pretty shiny. You still see the bottom of it. It's pretty shiny yet. And so it's basically a billet aluminum beauty. So obviously with the I couldn't find anything that was kind of old school and stuff. So we've been roughing it up a little bit, just taking some of that prettiness out of it. This is where we are with it now. Just roughing it up. This is one of his front covers. We've got a vent we can put in there. And yeah, so that's it for the 471 PMC blower. That's what she looks like. So we still got to make up some pulleys and an idler. And I should probably get on that sooner rather than later because it's supposed to be done. I don't know when I'm done. I'm done when I'm done. That's when I'm done. Yeah, so anyways, so that's the blower. That's the car. That's the front end. And this is me. Night, everybody. We're going to call it. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll definitely be going live stream tomorrow. Got some boys coming out to help a little bit here and there. Can you help me tomorrow? I don't know who's helping me tomorrow. Definitely on the weekend, though. So anyways, we're going to carry on, and we'll get back to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. Have a great night.